Hello, everyone. Corrie here, coming in to do our energy update for Monday, January the 15th. And of course, this is going to head us into the week and in until the 22nd. And on January 22nd, I will be off in my own experience. So this may be there will be recordings that will release as with time on different dates, but I'm trying to get all these recordings in and get them posted for you. So welcome. And so on this day, on this day, on this day in what the energy that we've had is there was a shift that I could feel that that didn't happen until about, I want to say, quarter to six. Like at quarter to six Mountain Standard Time, that was when I could just feel this, like it's like the wheel just turned or something, and something went, and it's like there was like this stuck in the mud energy. Of course, our deep freeze here in Alberta, just our deep freeze just kind of made a move, right? Like we just came out of the deep freeze here in Alberta, and it's been so cold, and now it's beginning to warm up. And so there's also a shift in the energy that's been happening. And it just feels as if it's been like that last little bit has been so kind of like, it's as if there was a rush to get everything done, and to stay with it and stay focused was so hard. But there's such a determination right now to stay focused, get things completed, get things done. Those things that you've been putting off, those things that needed to be done to clear out 2023, those things need to have an ending. And it's just like wherever you need to have that follow through, that finish up today, the next couple days, like, and as much as it's hard and it puts a lot of pressure on you, and you may feel stressed, you may have to deal with things you don't want to deal with, but deal with them now so that they're not following you any farther. I just feel like there's just so much energy that's just saying there is um a go time, but that go time, if we keep putting things in the spokes of our wheels, we're going to trip and fall, and it's just going to come back to bite us in the ass. So there could be this boomerang energy. So if we're, we want to be out of the out of the way of this boomerang energy, and just say, I've done my part. I've done what I've needed to do. I've gotten things done, and I've completed this part. And so I've made this happen. And that's where we are in the energy. It's like, okay, I've completed this. I've done my end. I've made sure I've got that happening and this happening. And so this is now done, complete, and it's over. And so we have a lot of that that's speaking to us, a whole lot of that that's speaking to us. And so so we are moving and shifting through energy. We're moving and shifting through time. And there's also a lot of where, it's like time warps. It's like there's all of these time warps that are happening. So you may be feeling these time warps that are happening. It's like, where did that time go? Where was I? What was I doing? You may have a lot of disturbed rest right now. It has been so disturbing in such disruption in sleep patterns and being able to go to sleep. And of course, if you're in this sense of ascension and growing, the ringing in your ears may be louder. Just weird dreams, things that are happening. We're moving through energy. We're shifting through it. We're energy. The world is energy. And there's just so much that's going on for us. And I could not have recorded this for you earlier today because I just couldn't even kind of get I couldn't come up for air is what it was like. There was just so many things, but I got so much accomplished. But it was like I was getting kind of panicky. And then it was like this 3 o'clock hit, and you got to go do, I had to go do something. You need to go do this. You need to go do this. And I went out to get into my truck, and I'm like, why do I need to go do this today? And it was just such a push. Just go, 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 go. You need to go. And it wasn't that I needed to go do that, but by me getting in my head that I needed to go do one thing, when I got in my truck, my tire was so low that if I had to wait till tomorrow, I would have had a full flat tire and I wouldn't have been able to go anywhere. And I can't change a tire right now. And I would have had to call in somebody to come help me change a tire in the driveway. But instead, by me jumping into action and listening to that voice, listening to that guidance, was that by getting me out and into the truck, I could get to the tire shop and get the tire repaired. And now I don't have to worry. The tire's now repaired. And that was where I needed to go, but it's not where I thought I was going. So you may be having a lot of those experiences. So listen to the nagging voice. The nagging voice is like the mother nagging at you and saying, why are my parents always nagging at me? My parents don't know nothing. Yeah, you think back now. They were nagging at you because they had existed longer than you existed. Oh. And because they were on earth longer than you, their brains had more information, they had more wisdom than you had, and you didn't want to listen because that little rebel, that little know-it-all was already knew more than the parents, right? Well, that's us right now with the divine. That's us with our guides right now, is that this is the elder energy, this is the wiser energy, and we're learning to grow. We are growing, we're sprouting, we are learning how to adult ourselves in a new way by not ignoring our own red flags, by not ignoring the signs, not ignoring the intuition, not ignoring the voice that is communicating to us and just saying, go, go, go. Your higher self is speaking to you. Your self that knows what you need to do is speaking, and learning to listen. And I mean actively listening. The most powerful thing you can do is even learn to listen to how somebody else feels without that sense of interrupting how they feel. And not taking it personal that they're communicating it to you. They're saying how they felt in an experience. So you may all grow up in the same house, but everybody experiences that. Everyone has a different experience in that time. Everyone has a different view. Everyone has a different experience. Everyone has a different way they heard it, seen it, and how it affected them. So how it affected one person may not be how it affected the other. So by discounting what somebody else is saying, or by what you know to be your truth, is that you are discounting, or you're missing out on the opportunity to be able to heal, to hear it, to heal it, to resolve it, to release it, to let it go, to surrender it, to make a change. Because everything right now is about being able to make a change. It is time for change. It is time for us to make a change. And of course, it gets messy, it gets ugly, it gets kind of not so, we're not making a clean break. The whole world has a lot of energy that's happening. And we're going to see probably some of the worst experiences before we see again some of the best experiences happening on a world scale. So this week on a world scale, you will be seeing, I feel like you will be seeing a little more of the kind of the worst again. Humanity has so much love, so much light, and there's so much beauty, and our world is ours to create. And so because the world has it happening, it don't mean your world has to be at war. It don't mean you have to be at war within yourself. This is a really good time to kind of put on the brakes, to step away and do the work that needs to be done within your home, within your office, within your house. This is a time for cleaning clutter, by clearing out. And sometimes it's clearing out the clutter in your mind, the past, the fear, the insecurities that you may have developed within yourself from past experiences. And those trauma responses, right? Those traumatic responses, by being triggered by the world, by being triggered by others. And there's things out there that are triggering us. And there was 2 experiences in the past couple of weeks that really brought up an experience of my past, of where I don't live there no more, but the stories I still have, but they don't have an energetic connection. So they don't trigger anything inside of me to share those stories. Anything anyone else is feeling by listening to those stories or reading those stories in my book is not that they're not feeling, pitiful or sad for me. They're feeling something within themselves, or you're feeling something within yourself. But both experiences were tied to young girls being picked on by adults. And it was over their weight, it was body shaming. And it was a little child was, receiving a gift, and it was this tea. And I'm like, I wouldn't even share the video. I'm like, that video should never have been allowed to even be posted. That should have been taken down instantly. And it's, a family giving her as a joke for a gift, this slim down tea. Like, where's the adult? And what kind of, and how big is that? How big of a problem, how big of a concern, how big of an issue is that it has influenced this little child to this degree? And how, imagine what that, even if she laughs at it, the impact upon her and her life, it plays out. The next one was Jelly Roll and Bunny and their daughter and Jelly Roll. But when they came after the daughter, Mama Bear came to life. And it's like, how 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 emotionally and spiritually immature is society when it truly believes that it is acceptable and okay to cause that kind of, to shame a child, or to cause that sense of reflection onto a child that makes a child to feel even more insecure instead of hovering. The children are watching, and this is a time of when, we should do better, we should be better, and as a society, as a world. So now think of it and bring it into you. Our inner child is watching. That sense of healing that inner child. So those experiences, I know those experiences. I know what it's like to exist in that energy, and I'm not the only one, but I know what it's like to have that happen. So when I had to bring that into my healing and bring it to the guides and the angels, and we opened up the book of life, and we traveled back through the healing, and we opened that up, and we looked in through the past, and we seen that little girl, and we seen that little girl of myself sitting in slim down at a young age, swinging my little legs, wondering why I was, believing I was there because I needed to be there. And only knowing the story as I got older, that for me, it was a shame story, but it was the beginning of generational trauma. And that as that followed through, and as it continued, that shame carried on. And that shame followed me for a lot of years in my life. And to then do the healing work, to take ownership and responsibility for it, because nobody is responsible for it but me in this moment. Nobody's responsible for it but us as adults. So in those cases, Bunny took full responsibility for standing up and just truly just finding that voice and being that voice. Who stood up for that little girl? People, women all over the world, nutritionists, influencers, people spoke up. But in the meantime, that video was being shared. And as that video is being shared, it was gaining popularity for a lot of people to get their videos out there. That video should never had made it that far. Right? And so when we look at it on a bigger scale, yes, she had a lot of support. You can have all the support you want in the world, but those situations just should never be happening anymore. They should never have happened when they happened. And so as I stepped into my own healing, and I did my own healing, and I did my work, I didn't just see that little girl. I sat with my mom. And as we sat and spoke about it, neither one of us were in any way needing to be in slim down. But she also made me her friend. And I was her friend, and she didn't want to go alone. So she would take me to places with her. Hear the difference in the story? And so when I could see the whole perspective, all these perspectives of this story, when I could see the woman, when I could release my mom from mom name and call her by her name, and we could step into that experience and that story together as two grown women, there was a lot of compassion and a lot of love. And then we could find our own laughter in that moment, and not laughing at the situation, but being able to laugh together, because ultimately we still made it to this point. We still made it through this relationship. We still had this, and that my healing also began her healing. That's how it works. And it was by me sitting with the guides and the angels with that same compassion first before I could sit with my mother. And taking that, it was all on me. The only way I was going to move past that was that I had to be accountable for who I was today and how I was treating this person that I was today, how I was becoming that same energy of everything that we hate, everything that we didn't like done to us. When we do that onto ourselves, then we are the problem. We're repeating the same pattern. It's about breaking the patterns. It's about getting messy, letting it go, releasing it, and surrendering it over and doing the healing work that needs to be done. And then not spending the rest of your life in the healing story. It's healed. It's done. And when it's healed and it's done, then we move it forward. We move on. We move into another chapter and we start working on other things. If we're forever victimizing ourselves in the same story, we will forever be trapped in this story. It can be very addictive to be constantly healing the same thing because it lets us stay comfortable in a group, in a story, in a group where we get to all stay together, right? Misery loves company. Hurt loves to be with hurt. It's comfortable. But to be the solution instead of continually being in the problem means that sometimes you're standing up here with less around you, less over here, but you're able to bring wisdom, to bring that in. So imagine if your higher self is communicating to you and your higher self is speaking to you, and you've got the opportunity to bring this down into your lower energy centers, bring this to your emotional self, bring this to that past that you're still holding on to, bring this to your stories, and let that higher self truly just bring in a revelation of new truths, of new stories, that you start to see things differently, start to grow from that experience. Well, that's the energy we have on a world scale right now. In this whole being, there's just so much of this energy that is speaking to us, just saying it is the beginning of something new. But we have to begin to move beyond. We have to start putting into the shelf, putting into file, putting this on the, in a place where we can, go recycle it, whatever it may be. It's now done with it so that it can be transmuted back as new wisdom. But we can begin to move on. And if we keep repeating the past, we're just going to constantly be in cycles. We're going to be in that hamster wheel. And it's time to be done. It's time for like clean endings, to end things, to eradicate that story, to move beyond so that we're not repeating again, whether it's in our personal life and whether it's on on a business, in a business life or in relationships, anywhere or on a world scale, even that on a world scale, it is time for those changes. And all of this energy is speaking to us in a way of just saying it's teaching us how to be, for the adults to be adult, so that the children can be children. And we've been preaching this kind of for, it feels like preaching this for so many years, for several years. But now it's go time. Now it's looking right at us. And what is looking right at us is requiring us to be the change. And this is January the 15th. That this will be around about when we start to see these changes. And yeah, and I'm just like, there's there's bombs to fall. There's war, but there's never not been war. It's only when war affects you, affects us as a country or, or a continent or whatever. It's only when it enters into your wheelhouse do you think that there is war. There is always war. There's always people who are struggling. There's always people that are enslaved into these times of hard times, wars, lack of freedom within countries. I'm trying to be very aware of my words and my language, but there's just a sense of all of this has existed. We have not eradicated this on a world scale. Hunger, lack of clean water, all of those things exist. So imagine all the money that could have been given to eradicate these things if the world could just get over itself. And that is the truth. If the word on a world scale, you just get over yourself, right? On a, just get over, just let, stop letting that big ego story, the fear, the messages of the past that, this is what we need to do. This is who we need to be. Maybe not. Maybe not. And so I pulled from my everyday goddess cards the Seraphant of Pain. And this Seraphant of Pain is Jules. And she just like, give me your pain. Give me that which you are now done with. Release that healing story and just see yourself as healed. Not fully, maybe, but you've fully healed something. You have fully completed a cycle. Just clean things up, file those things in the boxes, put it where it needs to go, burn the old boxes of stuff that need to be burned, give them away, whatever it may be, but get it out of the space that is cluttering it up within you, so that it doesn't occupy space, so it doesn't get held within you, so it's moved forward. And then when you need it for wisdom for someone else, it's there. And so it is that cleansing of that emotional stuff. You may find yourself getting things like poops. Just saying. You may find yourself having like little stomach issues, gurgly stomach, maybe some heartburn issues, like things like that, because there's just so much that's kind of being shifted through this big detox. It's like a big detox energy when we start to finally let shit go. And so when we start to let shit go, and it doesn't mean that if we're in our grieving, if we're grieving, if we're going through those, that's not discounting those experiences. Sometimes we got to give ourselves permission to fully step into our grief story, to fully step into love, to fully embody love, to fully be a part of love. And as a messenger of the divine, of God, whatever God means to you is just, this speaks to me. And it told me, and it tells me it's God. So I listen. And it just, there's just such a powerful sense in giving people permission to exist in their own experiences, to exist in what they need to experience and how they need to see it and how they need to live in it, but to also to free ourselves of existing in the thoughts of the past, the experiences of other people that then have to become our experience, their truth. What was the truth of somebody of 20 years ago may not be our truth of today. And that we can free ourselves of those truths. And that we can free ourselves because we are here to more than exist. My whole brand. And so the unseen wound, Thekla, was the other card that I pulled. And so the swords have roses on them. And those swords with the roses, just speaks of our spiritual sword that we're given to be able to cut the cords. But these swords do not hurt us. They do not harm. And hurt people, right? And so we are not here to hurt other people. We are here to release, to relinquish that control, to free ourselves. And when we free others, we free ourselves. And so this is the beginning of this 8, which is the year. And so it is as if we are making like major movements and shifts. And February is the lunar new year. And then April the 1st is the astrological new year. And these are all pivotal points. But it's as if we start, when we're arriving to those points, like 2 weeks before each of those pivotal points, it's like we start to see we see tides turn, we see the tides of change begin. And so it is as if something gets pushed out of the way, a block, and it just starts to flow into the next cycle. So we have these cycles, we have this movement that is taking place. And through that movement, through that change, there is so many things that are bringing us change. And, if we want to blossom, is that we can live with our scars, but we can't keep putting band-aids on those wounds. And their children are watching. And because the children are watching, it's time for us to do better than we have ever done. And, and there is a strong rise of that feminine energy. People ask, do I see a woman, leading the US in the future? And I'm like, yeah, I do. But it's not because a man doesn't do it, can't do the job. It's because it is a part of the flow of the energy, is just because it's how it's designed to be. And so how things are designed to be. And so there is this designed energy, because in the creation of the life we would exist in, it's as if each soul came for their divine purpose. And there is souls that are standing and they're being called. So many souls are being called into position now. And we're seeing those changes in position. And we also see a rise of the supporting masculine energy. So there's a healing within the masculine, but there's a healing in the feminine and the masculine of us, so that we can be more balanced, so that we can create balance and harmony within our lives. And that's where we are. And that's what we have happening through this energy. And as we kind of bring this to an ending, this message for the 15th, we have our soul connection. We have Vedoma. And this beautiful Vedoma is that, the veils of illusions have lifted, and she's stepping into her truth. So those lies we believe to be our truth, and those little white lies we tell ourselves, those moments we tell ourselves when that's okay, when it's really not okay. Those times and places when we just say, but that's the past, and I don't live there, but yet your life is replicating everything of the past. It means you are still existing in those past stories. Whether you're trying to run from it, hide from it, instead of healing it, instead of clearing it, instead of doing what we need to do to finally be able to make the change. And so it is time for those great changes. And Vedoma is that beginning of knowing truth, being able to look into herself, and the beautiful orbs of the golden light that is just surrounding her and that are with her, and these beautiful systems of divination and divine essence that is here to be able to be the guides that guide us through, and that each and every one of us has this beautiful system, and that we are here to reprogram that self to live within our divine purpose, to live with our divine knowing, so that we can unlearn to learn to be that divine self. And if I were with a divine being, would I mistreat it? And that's what you have to ask yourself. Would I mistreat it? Would I be unkind to it? Would I throw those sticks and stones at that divine self, at that divine image? So why would I throw sticks and stones at myself or at another? We have a lot of shifts happening. We have a lot of changes happening. And I hope in some way that this resonates with you. And this week is going to be busy. This week is going to be fast moving. This week has lots of kind of ups and downs, but you will arrive. Wherever your destination is, you will arrive. There is a path that's clearing, and it's just like rush, 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 get it done, get it done, get it done. Get things done now that you can do, that's in your control. And then other things, surrendering them and just saying, this is too big for me, I need to let this go. But give it to the universe. At least give it to the universe and let it be done through you, for you, because we have so many more beautiful things to do in 2024. I send you so much love. Have a beautiful week, and I will speak with you soon. Bye-bye.